Welcome to Technologyverse.
Welcome to today's Explainer. We're going to dive into some truly fascinating but honestly somewhat alarming science today. We're looking at how the absolute explosion of AI in our daily lives is literally rewiring our brains. It's 2026, AI is everywhere, right? But we really have to ask kind of a dark question here. Is this technology quietly killing our fundamental cognitive abilities?
So let's dive right into this central mystery. We all know from our own daily experiences that AI makes us faster, for sure. It makes us way more accurate in the moment. You type a prompt and boom, you've got a flawless essay or this perfect block of code. But what happens to our actual internal human capabilities when we turn the AI off? Are we genuinely learning, or are we basically just outsourcing human thought?
Well, this brings us to a pretty terrifying contradiction identified in the latest InnovaPath research. It's known as the performance learning paradox. Basically, while our immediate task performance is absolutely skyrocketing, making us look super productive, our durable skill acquisition, our long-term retention of knowledge, is completely plummeting. We're performing better, sure, but we are actually learning worse.
Here is our roadmap for this explainer. We'll hit the performance learning paradox, cognitive offloading in the brain, the illusion of competence, psychological and emotional impacts, and finally, building human-centered AI.
All right, Section 1, the performance learning paradox, immediate gains versus long-term losses. Let's dig into the hard data on what unrestricted AI is actually doing to our ability to retain information.
Take, for example, the Bastani field experiment from 2024. The researchers took 1,000 high school students and gave them standard GPT tutors. And unsurprisingly, those students did 48% better on their practice problems. Huge boost, right? But here is the absolute kicker. When the AI was removed for the actual exam, they performed 17% worse than students who used absolutely no AI at all. So their immediate performance basically masked a massive underlying failure in actually acquiring the skill.
Moving on to Section 2, cognitive offloading in the brain, what happens inside our heads? The absolute crucial point here is why this massive drop-off happens when we're finally left to our own devices. There is a really serious tension right at the intersection of artificial intelligence and human cognition. Think back to the MIT study we just talked about. Researchers actually used EEG caps to measure brainwaves while people wrote essays, both with and without AI. And the data showed that when subjects used AI, their brain network connectivity actively dropped. The deep, reflective pathways in the brain literally quieted down. We basically lose what psychologists call the generation effect. That's the cognitive benefit we get from actually struggling to produce information. This drop in brain activity is caused by a phenomenon called cognitive offloading. Essentially, you have to think of the brain like a muscle. When the AI lifts all the heavy weights for us, we stop exercising that muscle, which leads to a very real atrophy of our critical thinking. And the data shows this is particularly severe in younger users, specifically aged 17 to 25, who are in a really critical period of prefrontal cortex development. By offloading the struggle, we're inadvertently killing their capacity for independent analysis.
This quote from John Havens in the European Parliament's ethics report really hits the nail on the head. He notes that if we lose the ability to be introspective and do the hard work of thinking, we are literally outsourcing our human agency. We just become completely dependent on the machine to tell us what to think.
Which brings us to Section 3, the illusion of competence, overestimating our AI-assisted intelligence. This reliance builds into a really dangerous psychological trap when it comes to our own self-awareness.
Because AI produces such high-quality outputs, we totally fall for the illusion of competence. It's a metacognitive disconnect, meaning we basically trick ourselves into thinking we are the geniuses, when in reality, the machine did all the work. In one study using LSAT problems, people using AI saw their scores jump, but they falsely attributed the AI's brilliance to their own intellect. They completely failed to realize what they didn't actually know. And I mean, you can't fix a knowledge gap if the AI makes you believe you don't even have one, right?
On to Section 4, psychological and emotional impacts, AI's effect on human behavior. Beyond just the test scores and the brainwaves, the European Parliament report highlights how this reliance is really bleeding into our emotional and social lives.
There is a profound societal risk here. We're seeing this psychological dependency that taps right into the brain's reward functions. But perhaps the most alarming thing is how it impacts human empathy.
In a really wild experiment by researcher Nicholas Christakis at Yale, human participants played a cooperative game and were initially very generous with each other. But when researchers introduced just a few AI bots programmed to act selfishly, the human players completely stopped cooperating with one another. The selfish AI literally stunted human generosity. Crazy, right?
All right, Section 5. Building Human-Centered AI, the Path Forward. The risks to our cognition and our social fabric are massive, no doubt. But this impact isn't deterministic. We actually have the power to fix this through deliberate design.
The Innovative Path Review contrasts two completely different futures for us. On the negative pathway, unrestricted, direct answers lead straight to passive reliance, cognitive offloading, and skill atrophy. But on the positive pathway, we require active engagement. When we design AI to require effort and provide scaffolding, the outcome is actually enhanced learning and much more durable skills.
Organizations like Stanford's Institute for Human-Centered AI strongly recommend building in structural guardrails. If we design AI to act as a supportive tutor, one that provides hints but actually forces us to do the heavy cognitive lifting, we can save the human brain from atrophy. We absolutely must evaluate people on their unassisted capabilities and cultivate AI literacy to ensure genuine learning is happening, rather than just blindly praising their AI-assisted performance.
So what you should really take away from this explainer is that we face a critical choice. AI is an incredibly powerful cognitive tool, absolutely. But treating it as a replacement for human thought, that's a guaranteed path to mental atrophy. As we integrate these systems into our everyday lives, are we going to passively surrender our cognitive agency and just let our brains weaken? Or are we going to demand human-centered AI that challenges us, forces us to struggle, and ultimately elevates our minds? Think about it. That's all for today's explainer. Keep thinking critically, and I'll catch you next time.
If you really feel the video is helpful, click like, share, and subscribe button. Thank you for watching.